An imperfect season had a perfect ending. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, talking up Ohio State as the Buckeyes complete 2018 with a win on New Year's Day 2019, the Big Ten Championship and the Rose Bowl Championship, and Urban Meyer off into the sunset. We got Claire Crawford on the line to talk up the Buckeyes. Claire, how are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Doing well.
Absolutely. So it's only fitting that I have you on to give some perspective on more than just a football game and more than just a Rose Bowl, which is saying a lot because that's only been 8 wins for the Buckeyes in Pasadena since the beginning of time. So these are pretty special all to themselves, but then you add a certain coach finishing off his career at Ohio State, and it's a big deal.
It is. And you and I talked about it ahead of time, how excited we were about the Rose Bowl as, legacy Ohio State fans. That's a really nice way of saying that we're old.
Legacy. I'm going to go with that in the future. I'm going to steal that from you. I like it.
Legacy Ohio State fans. We were excited about Ohio State being in the Rose Bowl, and Urban Meyer wasn't just feigning his excitement. He really was. He had never competed in a Rose Bowl before. And obviously with him being around college football for as long as he has, he was really excited to compete in this as well. And it showed. Obviously watching it was a little bittersweet from a fan's perspective, and knowing that it was his time to move on, knowing that these last couple traditions we would see from Urban were going to be gone. So that was a little difficult watching it, knowing that there would be some uncertainty around the program going forward. In my lifetime, we really haven't had to face a whole lot of that. A coach leaving on great terms. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's happened in my lifetime, a coach leaving on his own volition, on his own terms. I know for a fact it hasn't at Ohio State. So it's pretty special. And as much as I don't want to say I told you so, for everyone who asked me if I thought Urban Meyer was going to be around, and I said no, and I got murdered for it. This is obviously not the outcome I wanted when I said that. It's just what I envision seeing going forward. So
I didn't know what to make of the situation completely, and I certainly saw this as one of just a few options or possibilities, but you certainly pegged it way back in September. And as soon as you mentioned the coaching transitions that have taken place at Ohio State for folks in our generation, I did the quick scan. And yes, for football reasons, Earl Bruce, that final season, didn't live up to expectations. For John Cooper, it was kind of a growing trend against Michigan and in postseason play. Woody Hayes was a 1 in a million type situation at the end of his legendary career, and Jim Tressel, of course, certainly won plenty, but was involved in an odd situation that many people call Tattoo Gate. So this is just a different, narrative that Urban Meyer got to call his own shot to a certain extent. At least he made the final decision. Certainly was pushed in that direction by a number of outside forces and unfortunately medical and health reasons.
For sure. And there are naysayers, and I'm sure plenty of non-Ohio State fans that love to watch Mark Rogers TV because you cover all of college sports and you do such a great, all of college football, and you do such a great job of it, that they will say, oh, he did this at Florida and he's leaving because of this or that, or he knows that sanctions are coming down the bend and this is his easy way out. Well, I will say, just from a logic standpoint, not from a fan standpoint, that Urban Meyer would not stick around the program, which is what he plans to do. He's already has been slated as staying around in the program. He wouldn't do that to this team and to this university if he felt like him being there would have sacrificed the integrity of the program. So that's at least my answer to those haters.
Yeah, so every time he answers the question, and I believe that most of the mainstream reporters, anchors, analysts have approached the question in a pretty respectful tone, but also trying not to be naive by saying, this is your plan, this is the outcome that you're letting us know about, and certainly where you are right now. And they kind of frame it in that direction. But I'm really going to pull one out of left field. What if Ryan Day, whether he has a good run or not so good run at Ohio State, and simply this popped into my head, considering Urban Meyer's relatively young age at 54, if it's 5 or 6 years from now and Urban Meyer has the position he has at Ohio State, and he thinks, hey, maybe I can do this for 3 or 4 years, or maybe not even that long, but maybe we need a jolt, and he's still a relatively man. The talking thing is not working for me tonight. Relatively young man, and I don't know. That's boy, putting a lot of pieces in play to do that. But who knows?
So I think the answer to your question is straight in front of Shelly Meyer. She's made it really clear she's done having her husband coach football, and I think he really sees the relief ahead of him. And who knows what a couple of years might do for him and his health, and taking some time off and getting to spend it with his family and his wife, and staying here and being part of the program. Maybe that'll be just enough to kind of limp him along. But I don't see that happening.
I almost hate, even though I'm in the business of doing this, that there has to be some sort of a greatest ever label placed on every category of coach player in whatever sport. And then if you're not considered the greatest, then who cares? Or that's the viewpoint from a lot of people out there, that they'll also always attach it to whomever they believe has accomplished more. Right now, that would be for the general college football population, just because of sheer championships, Nick Saban. I pointed out to a lot of people on social media through the course of the game, before and after, that there's a lot of context that needs to be given to that, especially in the college football world, where championship opportunities are selected and not necessarily earned completely. The statement I made about Urban Meyer, and I backed it up and it can be backed up in a plethora of different metrics, is most consistent winner in the history of modern college football.
I watch MarkRogersTV, and it goes all the way back to Newt Rockne, where everyone was in black and white.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I think, we talked a little bit about Urban Meyer's legacy, and it's what his legacy is going to look like. And I talked to Rachel Baribeau about it as well. And she said, what is Urban Meyer's legacy going to look like? And at the time, my best answer was complicated. But as you see with how Woody Hayes' legacy has turned out, and what fans think of him, and obviously the context around his departure also needs to be put in the context of the era. And I think eventually that will be the same with the era that we're living in now as well. So I fully appreciate the fact that the turmoil that happened this year, and all of the off the field really distractions that happened, and the dismissal of Zach Smith, and the drama, and the really deep digging that I'm sure he had to do personally and emotionally in order to kind of get through this season. I think a lot of that will be a smaller and smaller ratio factored into his legacy going forward. I think what we're going to remember is how successful he was, the lives that he changed, the boys that turned into men in the program, the men that took those lessons and taught other people, and went on to grow and be a part of their communities as well.
Well stated, Claire. And if I had any sense of timing, I would leave us right there. But I'm going to ask you one other thing. Maybe I need to work on my craft a little bit more, but I just need to ask this. So in our social media, illogical fandom state of mind for many out there, I was even seeing all over social media, not just a random few. I was seeing comments made about Kirby Smart, the Georgia head coach, after they so ashamedly lost the SEC championship game in like the last 30 seconds and finished number 5 in the country, and then lost a bowl game that, that he should be thrown to the wayside.
Right.
Of course, the goal for Ohio State is to get to the playoff, but I think Urban Meyer has done an exceptional job of publicly stating and then getting it across to his team that we can't control that. When it happens, that's great. We will take on the next mission, as he calls it. What we can control is beating the teams on the schedule that will conclude with a Big Ten championship, and they accomplished that the last 2 years. And then other pieces did not fall into place that they could not control. And so I think to compare the Ohio State situation to Georgia, and I don't know what the motivation was there, but it just speaks more to the greatness of Urban Meyer to keep his team focused and on point to the next game, the next challenge, regardless of what the disappointment was. And then they go out and take care of business.
In all reality, that's how really successful people look forward to any goal, long-term or short-term, is that you make small goals that lead up to that bigger goal. And since we're in the new year, we can talk about resolutions. That's, if you have a resolution, if you have a goal in mind, that's how you accomplish it. You make smaller time sensitive goals, and that's how you achieve them. And each one of those goals is a football game for them. They've got to make it through another practice. They've got to make it through another game. They've got to make it through the Big Ten season. They've got to make it to the Big Ten championship. And everything else that's out of your control is wasted energy. It's the same thing with your goals in your life. Everything else that's out of your control is wasted energy. And if they've got their blinders on for beating the next team, and he's very disciplined. If you listen to him in press conferences, and it's tough to have reporters ask him questions, and he said, "I'm just focused on fill in the blank, Purdue." It would be great to really know what's going on in his head, and we're all human, and I'm sure we let those things happen. But in order to really accomplish a big goal, you have to complete those smaller goals, and it's one of the many things that makes him a great leader.
And Claire, considering what happened to Purdue, not just in the bowl season against Auburn, which was a complete annihilation, but elsewhere on the schedule versus what happened to Ohio State and what we know about the caliber of the two teams, that really just didn't happen, did it? It almost seems like that couldn't have happened.
It couldn't have. And while we're on the note about Purdue, I'm not sure if you had mentioned it on a broadcast or not, but Tyler Trent did pass away yesterday. For anyone that followed college football and what an inspiration he was, definitely check it out. But he was a super fan, a student at Purdue that had an epic battle with cancer, and both football teams honored him when he was at the game at Ohio State. It was one of the very few positive things that came out of that game. So we'll try to put a silver lining on whatever happened during that game.
Yeah, no question about that. The young man was very inspirational to millions of people who heard his story and his brave march through life. We got Claire Crawford on the line, Buckeye Claire. And one last thing, Claire. So you were able to enjoy and embrace, despite knowing that it was Urban Meyer's last game, and also that the Buckeyes could have been somewhere else?
I was, because I'm not one of those but fans. I call them but, and I call people in my life but people. It's draining to think about what if, but. If I don't enjoy what's in front of me, knowing, obviously it was bittersweet because, like I mentioned before, there are traditions that we're going to see gone, and you see his family was there, and it's such a special day. It's on New Year's Day. It's the Rose Bowl. If I didn't just entrench myself in the joy of watching this football game, now there were times where I thought the intensity was lacking a little bit. And, if we're looking at X's and O's, the second half, they weren't making great adjustments, and they fell kind of flat offensively and defensively in the second half. We'll give the Huskies some credit for their second half adjustments as well. But most certainly, I was able to sit back and enjoy the game for what it is. Of course, Ohio State fans, because of what happened leading up to this game with Georgia losing and Notre Dame losing, there are Ohio State fans that are myopic and believe that Ohio State should be. And of course, I would have loved to have seen Ohio State in the playoff, but they're not. So I enjoyed them in their bowl game and the success of their bowl game, and watching Urban Meyer leave on a positive note.
Urban Meyer's worst season at Ohio State, 11-2. His worst season in his coaching career in total, 8-5. Find another coach with a worse season of 8-5 in 17 years. Claire Crawford on the line. Just follow her on Twitter at Buckeye Claire, or certainly hang out here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We try to track down Claire as much as possible to talk Ohio State football. And maybe soon, Claire, we can look forward to 2019 and what Ryan Day has coming back.
I'm super excited. And next time you see me, hopefully I'll have my Christmas tree down.
Yeah, I'm in that same place. My one excuse will be, for the past 2 years, my daughter's been in college. And so this used to be a weekend after Thanksgiving chore and little celebration decoration. But since she's been in college till near like December 20th, we get this thing up like the 22nd. So I'm going to leave it up for a little while.
Same thing happened here. As long as I have it before we get to talk about spring game, as long as it's done before then, we're okay.
There you go. Hey, Claire, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Happy New Year.